My wife and I have created an extraordinary life, and it became even more extraordinary when we got involved with listening to Abraham several years ago. So it's been pretty, for the most part, easy for me to create a well-paying job, love to be there. We have 3 gorgeous boys, and I need some more clarity on my relationship with my oldest, Jonathan. He's 12. And, they say children can press buttons or whatnot, and I'm sure that I can press his buttons as well, but I get angry with him too often.
Because
he likes to show his strength with his younger brothers, because he likes to show his power with other children in maybe not the most appropriate way. And, the repetition of coming from mom and dad, Jonathan, ease back, or whatever the case may be.
When he shows his strength to them, do you think it's from a place of feeling strength or from a place of trying to compensate for a strength he's not feeling?
Strength of not feeling.
So from a place of disconnection, he's trying to take action.
Right.
And then the action that he offers always backfires for him. In other words, he gets negative repercussions from you. Not always, but what we've noticed is that anytime anybody offers any action from a place of disconnection, that action only compounds the disconnection.
Right.
And just, if nothing more, adds to the vibration that attracts more and more and more and more and more of it. So,
terrible cycle.
When you think of how you can be of greatest value to anyone, whether it is a child who you adore, or a friend, or a spouse, or even a stranger, the answer is always the same, and that is to understand that they are an extension of energy that really feels good, and that if they're not feeling good, something's happened to cause them to have some vibrational relativity between who they really are and who they're being in this moment. So your work and our work as uplifters is to do anything that we can do to help to bridge that gap. So soothing is always the answer over scolding. In other words, you can't scold somebody back into alignment. You can't punish them back into alignment.
So why am I having such a difficult time remembering this?
Because you were scolded, because there's this action world that you've learned. Esther is struggling with this a little bit too, because she is watching granddaughter Kate, who, in Esther's opinion, is the perfect child, who has wonderful manners and behavior. And she knows it's because it is her nature to feel good, but also her parents are deliberate about what they expect from her, and she is obedient. And so Esther wants her to be free rather than obedient,
right.
But she does like her good behavior. So it's sort of a catch-22. In other words, what part of this lovely child is coming because of her connection, and what part of it is coming because of what she's learning in her action world? Jerry and Esther have been watching occasionally a new television program called Super Nanny, where a woman from England is interacting with families who have children with extraordinary, outrageous behavior. And then she is wrestling them to the ground and improving the family dynamics. And we want to talk about the advantages and disadvantages and the reason things work and the reason things don't work and the long-term effect of all of this, because we think it's what you're talking about. How much do I do vibrationally, and how much do I do with my words, and how much do I do with my action will help you find your place in all of this. So give us an example of some family discord.
The boys will be playing. We have Jonathan 12, James, soon to be 8, and Ethan 4. And they'll be playing, and lo and behold, we'll hear Jamie cry out from the playroom. And I've learned to let that go a little bit. Let's see if they can work it out themselves. 10 minutes later, something more. You could tell from the cry out that is a little bit more serious. You can hear James, saying that it was Jonathan did such and such, and so go downstairs, and Jonathan's got the angelic face on, and Jamie's sitting there with tears running down his eyes. Try to push that aside. But there'll be things, and we'll tell Jonathan, look, just, please show your brothers the grace and courtesy that they deserve, the respect.
And what does he say?
Yes, he agrees. But it happens on a somewhat regular basis.
We would like to hear about something you witnessed, because when you are coming in after the fact, you don't really know what vibrations led up to it. In other words, even if your oldest really was stepping out of line, often, in fact always, everything that happens between any two or three or however many is a co-creation.
Right.
And nobody ever gets something that they're not a vibrational match to. Now, we know in this physical world it is so easy to see the big one beating up on the little one. Mm-hmm. But there's some reason that the big one wants to beat up on the little one. And it's not always something overt that you can see. In other words, sometimes it's vibrational. It's an interesting thing with children, especially children who are siblings, especially children who are living wonderful lives like your children are. There is a degree of competition that they feel for the attention and the adoration of parents. And without even meaning to, very often, they are vying for that positive attention. So it's a very common thing, and we can feel some of this here, that there's some co-creating going on, but the tendency for parents is to always assume that the oldest one should be the one who knows better. Well, the oldest one might know better in terms of action, but it's hard to really know better in terms of vibration. Here is a room full of adults that are still trying to find their way into awareness of vibration. And so, what if you were interacting with someone who was vibrationally extracting from you something that you really did not want to give them, but they were so determined in their expectation of it that they just brought, have you ever said something and then later said, I don't know what got into me, that's not who I usually am. So sometimes a situation can get going like that, where you offer something that you know better, that you didn't mean to offer, and then it is compounded by the fact that then the younger one gets the reward that he is now looking for. He has discovered a way that he can become the favorite one by stirring things up enough that then the other one gets in trouble. And it's interesting because your older child has just given up on anything really fair coming out of it. And then the more injustice he feels, then the more he begins to respond. In other words, you hear people say, and really mean it, well, I didn't commit the crime, I was just accused of it, so now I'm going to commit it because I've been accused of it anyway. I might as well enjoy the benefit of at least getting to do what I'm being blamed for doing. There's some of all of that going on. And here is the thing that we most want you to hear. You parents are the ones that are in the most uncomfortable place at all as you put yourself in the place of believing that you should be the arbitrator, because it is very, very difficult to sort out the vibrations that are at the heart of what's happening. And when you step in to attempt the impossible, you always create some sort of injustice. And do you know that it is that vibrational misunderstanding and subsequent action injustice that is at the heart of almost every behavioral issue of people who move then out into their own? In other words, children begin to learn the way that the world will respond to them at very, very early ages, you see. And that's why we think you're very wise when you acknowledge that they are vibrational beings and that they have inner beings. And when you say we try as much as we can to just let them work it out, that's a wonderful thing, because they will work it out. And the combination of them working to work it out and you coaching them from the sidelines, applauding them in their connection and giving your attention to them when they are in alignment with who they are, and doing your best to withdraw your attention from them when they are not in alignment, you'll be amazed at how much they will come into vibrational alignment with their own guidance system.
That's what I'm looking for.
We would say to your older child, we would say to him, just openly, before anything else happens, I've been thinking, and I realize that you get a bum rap sometimes, because these things I know about you. I know that you are a wonderful big brother. And I know that you would do anything that you needed to do to take care of these little guys if there was ever anybody else that was messing with them in any way. I know that. I've seen you with them. I trust you. I think you are a wonderful big brother. And I know that sometimes they just get the best of you. And sometimes unfairness happens. I know that. And sometimes you deserve what you get. I know that. Don't let him off the hook altogether. But then say to him, we're going to try to let you guys work it out, because your mom and I have been talking and we know these things. You're a really good big brother. You're really smart. You know what to do. You follow your own heart. You know what's the right thing to do. You know how you want to be treated. And even though your little brothers don't always treat you the way you want to be treated, that's the thing that we are most holding you responsible for. We want you to be older and to be able to accept their not knowing. And sometimes we unfairly expect you to know better. And that's not all that fair. And we're going to talk to the other boys too. We're going to let everybody know that they're sort of in charge of their own experience, and it's sort of up to all of you to work things out. But we want all of you to know that we love you dearly, but we're not going to get in the middle of this so much. So I'm expecting that things will go better, because I know that you know what to do. Now, what do you think he would say if he heard something like that from you? We know you've offered some of this before. What would he say?
I'll try to do my best. I'll do better.
And then you say, you always do the best that you can do in the moment. And that's what I'm trying to say to you, say to him. That's what I'm trying to say to you. I'm trying to say that I know that you're trying to do your best, and we're going to help you. We're going to make it easier for you to do your best by trusting you to do your best, and by not assuming right away that you're the one that's wrong. In other words, we're going to do our best to level this playing field a little bit here. Because when you have children, even though they are close in age, the difference between a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, they have very different interests and very different perspectives of themselves in the world. And what happens to the older one is that he feels held back by the younger ones and wants to sort of reach out, and the younger ones feel jealous that they can't go to the place that the older ones are going. And so you have to find a way of helping everybody to understand that they are where they are, and where they are is just fine, and you're appreciating where they are, and not try to treat them as a clump of children, but treat them as 3 very different perspectives of 3 very different children, you see. Very often, a mother and a father will have 2 different opinions about something. This is a terrible circumstance for children, because they get one vibration from one parent and one from another, and they don't really know what to do. So alignment with one another is very important. But very often, even one parent or the other has split energy. They want this from the child, but they expect this. And very often a parent would say, well, the reason I expect this is because this is what the child has been giving me. And we say, well, don't let them train you into your vibration about them. You get off when they're not doing that and train your own vibration. You could look at anyone, and with enough practice and with enough looking at the positive aspects of that person, you could train into your vibration only the best of anyone. And when they are with you, it would not be possible for them to get activated something that opposes what's dominant within you. But if you've got good stuff about your kids active in you and stuff you don't want activated within you, then it's sort of a crapshoot. In other words, you can get a little bit of anything. And depending on how they feel, then it seems like their vibration rules the day. And most people do let their vibration follow what they are observing. And the key to really good parenting is to train yourself into wonderful expectation about your children, regardless of how they're behaving.